Greetings, Spooky fans! Michael here. Today we are going to be talking about signature moves, and no, I don't mean relocating where you sign your name. No, a signature move, for those who don't know, is a move in Pokemon that can only be learned by one Pokemon or one evolutionary family, with a few exceptions. A move is still considered a signature move if the only way it can be learned by an evolutionary line outside of the original is via breeding. For example, Octillery's signature move Octazooka can only be learned by Octillery unless it passes it down to a Horsey via breeding. It's also still considered a signature move if another evolutionary line can learn it via a one-time special gift Pokemon or event type thing. For example, again, Octillery's signature move Octazooka is known by a really random Gen 5 event distribution at Pokemon centers in Japan of a Sableye, which is honestly super weird. Now, one interesting thing about signature moves is that a lot of times they don't stay as signature moves as the generations progress on. For example, in Generation 3, the Hoenn starters, when they were introduced, all had their own signature move. Sceptile had Leaf Blade, Blaziken had Blaze Kick, and Swampert had Muddy Water. But then in the very next generation, Generation 4, several other Pokemon got access to those moves. Some examples being Leafeon getting Leaf Blade, Hitmonlee getting Blaze Kick, and Gastrodon getting Muddy Water. I bring that up because that's actually the focus of today's video. I'm going to be counting down the top 10 signature moves I would like to see be given to other Pokemon in future generations, for reasons such as it makes sense biologically, or it would help the Pokemon become a lot more viable, or any other reason. So be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And without further ado, here are the top 10 signature moves that other Pokemon should get. Number 10, Land's Wrath, the signature move of Zygarde. Zygarde has more signature moves than any other Pokemon, those being Land's Wrath, Thousand Arrows, Thousand Waves, and Core Enforcer. Dude needs to chill. Zygarde simply has too many signature moves in my opinion, so I wanted to pick one of them for him to share the love with, and of his 4 signature moves, I think Land's Wrath is the one that makes the most sense, since Thousand Waves and Thousand Arrows feature launching a lot of green energy blobs that other Pokemon definitely don't have access to, and Core Enforcer, well, it has a pretty specific alphabetical limit. Land's Wrath works well though, since pretty much any ground type could feasibly summon the Wrath of the Land. It also would work well in battle, since it gives physical ground type and attackers a different option in double battles than Earthquake, since you sacrifice a little bit of power in exchange for only hitting your opponents. And before you say that legendary Pokemon signature moves don't ever become not signature, I'd like to remind you of Sacred Sword, a move that was the signature move of the Swords of Justice in Generation 5, but then was spread to the Aegislash line in Generation 6. So, anything is possible. Number 9, Dragon Hammer, the signature move of Alolan Exeggutor. Dragon Hammer is a super awesome sounding and looking dragon attack. Like, just think about it. Dragon Hammer! That's awesome. And yet somehow, it is exclusive to a palm tree. Side note, it can be learned by Tropius via breeding, so it's not truly exclusive to Alolan Exeggutor, but like, it makes more sense on Tropius than it does on Alolan Exeggutor. So why is it Alolan Exeggutor's signature move? I think Dragon Hammer should be learned by other Dragon-type Pokemon because it's just like Dragon Claw. You're attacking an opponent with some fancy dragon-powered limb, but instead of clawing at them, you're just slamming them with something. There are tons of Dragon-type Pokemon that could feasibly learn this, like Druddigon, Kammo-o, or Dialga, or pretty much any other dragon type, or even not dragon type, that has a large limb they could slam things with. It just seems really ridiculous to me that this really awesome dragon move is restricted to the least dragon. Number 8. Psychic Fangs, the signature move of Bruxish, which can also be learned via breeding by Carvanha, Lillipup, and Girafarig, which is honestly a super weird group. Similarly to Dragon Hammer, there are tons of Pokemon that should feasibly learn this move thanks to their biology. Sure, there's plenty of Psychic-type Pokemon that have sharp teeth, like Solgaleo, Metagross, or Swoobat. It would make perfect sense on them, but there's also quite a lot of Pokemon that should be able to learn Psychic Fangs simply because they have teeth. Just think about how many Pokemon can learn Thunder Fang that have nothing to do with electricity. It's a really cool move stuck on a very ugly Pokemon, and I really want to see it spread around. Number 7, Heal Order, one of the signature moves of Vespiquen. Reliable recovery is pretty much essential for any Pokemon that wants to be an effective wall or tank in competitive battling. And there's several tanky bug-type Pokemon that are in the lower tiers because they lack access to that. Two that come to my mind specifically are Forretress and Vikavolt, two really cool tanky bug types that tend to be in the lower tiers because they don't have access to reliable recovery and they're really slow. So they always end up taking a hit before they can dish one out and don't really have a good way of getting any health back. Having access to reliable recovery and heal order would help them out a lot, and I would like to see them get it. It doesn't make as much biological sense as the other moves we've discussed, since I kinda doubt a Forretress or Vikavolt could command an army of bees, but it is a bug type move though, so it's close enough. Number 6, Fire Lash, the signature move of Heatmor. Interesting fact about Fire Lash is that it's one of the few signature moves given to a Pokemon several generations after that Pokemon's release. Heatmor was released in Generation 5, but it didn't get Fire Lash until Generation 7. If you didn't know, Fire Lash has nothing to do with eyelashes. It has to do with Heatmor attacking enemies with its fiery tongue, using it like a whip, which is also called a lash. And I would like to see this move given to other Pokemon for two big reasons. The first is that there need to be more viable physical fire-type moves. As of right now, the only non-signature physical fire move that's 100% accurate and doesn't do recoil damage is Fire Punch, at a measly 75 base power. While Fire Lash isn't very much stronger, it's only 80 base power, it's still a much better option because it lowers the defense of the opponent, allowing for stronger second hits, but also, this ties into my next point, it allows more Pokemon to get access to it. Let me explain. My second reason is that it makes sense for a lot more Pokemon. Fire Punch can only be learned by a Fire-type Pokemon that has hands, whereas Fire Lash is just attacking with a Fire-type whip. You could feasibly imagine pretty much any Fire-type Pokemon manipulating fire into a whip shape and then attacking the enemy with it. Heck, some of them even already have them, like Mega Blaziken. Those arm flames are virtually whips already. It would make sense and allow a lot more Pokemon to get better physical fire moves, and I'd just like to see it spread around. Number 5, Baneful Bunker, the signature move of Toxapex. Generation 6 introduced two new moves that behave like Protect, but have extra effects if contact is made, those being Spiky Shield and King's Shield. Baneful Bunker was another similar move that was introduced in Generation 7. I really like these moves since I think they add a fun extra level of strategy, especially in double battles, so I'd like to see them spread around more. Spiky Shield started as Chestnut's signature move and was spread to others, and I'd like to see Baneful Bunker spread to other Pokemon as well. Not really King's Shield, that can stay on Aegislash because it's way more OP than the other two, and also it's trickier to justify biologically. Baneful Bunker would work for a lot of poison-type Pokemon. Just think about how many you could picture hunkering down and then covering themselves with fancy poisonous spikes. Some specific examples I can think of are Garbodor, Naganadel, or Whirlipede. It would work for a lot of Pokemon and be an interesting aspect of strategy, so I'd like to see it. Number 4, Trop Kick, the signature move of Zarina. Trop Kick is just essentially a tropical, grassified kick. So any grass-type Pokemon that could feasibly lift its leg high enough to drop kick an opponent should be able to learn it. Because it just makes sense. Breloom, Sceptile, Cacturn, Chestnut, Shiftry, Virizion, and more can all easily kick things. And since they're all grass types, there is no reason that they also should not be able to kick tropically. Number 3, Accelerock, the signature move of Lycanrock's midday and dusk forms. Lots of rock-type Pokemon are big, slow boulders that pretty much anyone would have a hard time believing could move fast at any point. But there are lots of rock types out there that are fast, mobile beasts that deserve a stab priority move. Sure, Lycanrock is clearly a fast rock type, so Accelerock makes perfect sense. But what about Aerodactyl? A rock type that is much faster than Lycanrock even before it mega evolves. What about Kabutops? Another rock type that already has a stab priority move in Aqua Jet, so why not give it another? And there are plenty of other rock types out there like Archeops, Caracosta, Terrakion, or Nihilego that are already close in speed to Lycanrock, or they can already learn other priority moves. And plenty of them and more would all be logical users of Accelerock. Number 2, Shore Up, the signature move of Palisand and Sandygast. This entry is pretty similar to the Heal Order one. There are lots of ground-type Pokemon out there that don't have access to reliable recovery that would benefit a lot in competitive if they had access to it. And Shore Up makes perfect sense for virtually every ground-type Pokemon because they're just covering themselves with sand. Non-Mega Swampert would be a much more effective defensive Pokemon if it could reliably recover. Mudsdale with Stamina would be a far more effective defensive wall if it didn't get so easily worn down. Heck, maybe even my boy Torterra could rise out of the terrible, awful PU tier and finally be an effective Pokemon if it could reliably recover. Wait, what? Oh, it already has reliable recovery. It learns Synthesis. Oh. Shore Up would help out a lot of ground-type Pokemon considerably. And since, like I said, it makes sense on virtually every ground-type Pokemon, why not just give it to him? Number 1, Volt Strike and Zing Zap, the signature moves of Zekrom and Togedemaru respectively. I am grouping these together here because I'm gonna say the same thing about both of them, so why split them up? Physical electric type Pokemon have been at a disadvantage since pretty much the beginning of Pokemon. Before the physical special split, all electric type moves were special, so if you had high attack, you were screwed. But even after that, the best physical electric type moves are not nearly as good as the special ones. The strongest non-signature physical electric type move that's 100% accurate and doesn't do recoil damage is Thunder Punch at 75 base power. Compare that to the strongest non-signature special electric type move that's 100% accurate and doesn't do recoil damage. It's Thunderbolt at base 90 power. Clearly, the special electric type attackers are getting a far better deal. If Zing Zap and or Bolt Strike could spread to physical electric type attackers, it would help them out a lot. Zing Zap is the electric equivalent of Iron Head and Zen Headbutt, meaning it has a chance to flinch the opponent, which would be a big help for really fast physical electric type attackers. And Bolt Strike, while it probably would have to be nerfed since it's the strongest electric type move and still 85% accurate, that would obviously be a lot of help to them, so I think they should get it. But the biggest reason these two moves are number 1 above all other moves in similar situations is that electric is my favorite type, and there are lots of physical electric type attackers that I really love, like Electivire, Zebstrika, and Luxray, that are really held back by their limited physical electric movesets, and they honestly deserve a lot better. Also, there is not a single move that has a more awesome name than Bolt Strike, and come on, wouldn't you want to see that more often? So there we have it. Those are the top 10 signature moves I would like to see be given to other Pokemon. Now, I know a lot of times my top 10s, there's no real chance of what I discuss ever happening. I honestly don't think that's the case here, because a lot of signature moves that became not signature moves were spread to a lot of other Pokemon in the following generation. I was honestly kind of amazed. So I feel like a lot of these could very realistically be given to a lot of different Pokemon in Gen 8. What did you think of this video? Do you agree with my list? What are some other signature moves you'd like to see other Pokemon get? Let me know in the comments below! And if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like, that helps me out a lot. And if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. I make lots of fun Pokemon content all the time that I am sure you will enjoy. And if you really like my videos, make sure you tap that bell so you can turn on notifications so you don't miss an upload, even if YouTube is being dumb. Alright, that's all I have for now. So till next time, brave fans. Gotta catch some more!